So welcome to this webinar on deploying a Matter product, navigating the certification and attestation certificate process. This is a Kudelski IoT webinar jointly organized with Alien Labs. So my name is Brecht Wieser. I'm a senior product manager at Kudelski IoT, and many of you may already have seen or talked with me at some of the member meetings like last week in Boston, or during some of the Tiger team calls in the Matter working group or the product security working group at CSA. Now, first of all, let me introduce you to the speakers of today. Thomas Zhang from Alien Labs, he will introduce you to the Matter certification process. Thomas, he is a director at Alien Labs, responsible for network certification business development, including for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Thread, and Matter. Thomas has been in a networking related position for the past 20 years, and he's now focusing on smart home implementations and user experience analysis. Thomas is also a fan of the Boston Red Sox after he has been attending the game during the past member meeting. We also have Fred Matisse from Kudelski IoT. He is going to demystify the commissioning process for Matter devices. Fred, he's a director product management at Kudelski IoT, and he's responsible for the IoT security product line, including the Matter solutions. Fred, he actually started his career as a developer for custom smart home solutions. And when he joined Kudelski, he actually also launched a new product line in Kudelski for monitoring the security of smart home networks. And Fred also, he's into sports, having recently spent his holidays mountain biking in the desert of the United States. Now, before we really get started, maybe some logistics. So you can enter questions in the GoToWebinar interface. We will handle those questions during the Q&A that will be taking place at the end of the webinar. If we don't get to your questions during that Q&A, we will also follow up directly with you, like per email. Now for you today, so Alien and Kudelski IoT, we are collaborating to help customers to navigate through the process of getting your products ready for Matter. And as part thereof, we are organizing today's webinar, where we will deep dive into product certification and device attestation. Now, first of all, to contextualize this, so when you as a device manufacturer wishes to have your product on the shelf, you wish to have the Matter product to display the Matter logo. That logo has a value towards your customers because it's the guarantee that that product of yours will be able to talk with all other Matter devices. It is the guarantee for interoperability, which is one of the main promises of Matter. And how you can obtain that logo, that's something you will learn today. Secondly, inside the box, you often also have a QR code. What that is about, I will first let Fred Matisse explain to you. So Fred, go ahead.
Thank you, Brecht. So my part will be to try to understand what are the digital certificates that are used for the QR code. To go over there, I will start to demystify, as Brecht mentioned, the Matter commissioning process, try to explain what it is, what is needed, and what happens during the commissioning. And to do that, we will go through some acronyms that will be defined here: DCL, PA, PI, DAC, and CD. That's some acronyms that you hear a lot. And I will try to explain what they are and how they are working together. Then we'll have a quick overview of the Matter journey, which kind of certificate do you need one, and how to get them. We'll have an overview of the pricing models, and I will conclude my part with how Kudelski IoT can help you in the whole journey. So first, the Matter commissioning process, it's really when the user brings its device at home, he scans the QR codes that is on the device or in the box. And at this stage, the device needs to prove its authenticity and conformity to the commissioner so that he can join the network and the Matter ecosystem. And then he can communicate and the user can order his coffee using Alexa, for example. So the question is how the device is proving the authenticity and conformity. So let's go through the authenticity part. Each device needs to have a unique device attestation certificate. So this is a unique part proving the identity of the device. So to have that, you need to have a product attestation authority, which is a root CA or an authority, a certificate authority that is attested by CSA. So for example, at Kudelski IoT, we have been attested by CSA. We are a product attestation authority, and our certificate is in the DCL, proving that it's authentic. And from that, we can issue some product attestation intermediate, which is at the vendor level, saying that you have your vendor ID and your product ID in the product attestation authority. You may have one product attestation intermediate for each of your product family, or you can have one for all. Yes, it depends to you. So you can have one to many PAI, and this PAI will issue the DAC for your devices. And then the device will get the DAC to prove its authenticity. And next, the device will need to prove its conformity, and that's where we have the That's where we have the certificate declaration. So you need to prove that your device is working as it's defined in the matter spec. And to do that, you will give your device to a third-party lab like Alien that will do the testing and reporting to CSA. CSA will take the report and deliver you the certification declaration, meaning that your device is conform with the matter specification. So once you have done all of that, your device can now be commissioned. So it means that in each device, you will have the certification declaration coming from the labs, the third-party labs to the CSA to your device. You will need to find DAC service like Kudelski IoT, keystream service to provide the DAC and the private keys or get the private keys from your device and the public part of the PAI certificate. And the commissioner will get the public part of the PAA certificate that is authenticated in the DCL. So the certification declaration has the product ID and the vendor ID. The DAC also has the product ID and the vendor ID. They need to match between the two. And the DAC needs to be issued by the PAI, that needs to be issued by the PAA that is authenticated in the DCL. So there is a link between all of these elements in your device, and it's what is needed to allow your device to be onboarded on a Matter ecosystem. And while building your Matter devices, so what we've seen, the commissioning is really at the end when the end user purchases your device. But before that, you will need to prototype or develop products, and then you need to have some generic test DAC to make sure that everything is working, to validate that you want to be part of Matter and that it's working fine in your test environment. And next, you will go to certification. At this stage, you still use a test certificate with VID and PID that are yours usually. And then when you manufacture and deploy your device, then you need the production DAC. So you need to make sure that the DAC provider, the DAC service that you are using can provide all of that to simplify your Matter journey. And one other important thing to do while you are building a new product is to think about product security. So you may want to do some threat assessment at the beginning to make sure you understand the threats scope of your solution. What are the threats to your business model and the risk, and what is the impact if someone is able to use this threat. To then, based on that, you can define the security architecture, and after that, you can validate the security with penetration testing and device security discovery, meaning that's some friendly hackers will take your device and try to break it and make sure that the security is enough. So Matter is an important part for security and interoperability, but you should also think about other services to make sure that your solution is secure to be able to be deployed. So next, the question is, what are the ways to get this certificate? Because you need a unique DAC per device. So there is two main categories for that. Either you have use a service that is pre-generating everything and you send that to your device, meaning that the device attestation certificate and the private keys are generated by the DAC service. And then the DAC service will send that to your device or to your factory, and it will be provisioned in the device itself. The second option is when you have already a private key or key pair in your device. You may have a secure element in your device that has a key pair and you want to use it. Then you may use the online signing feature. That means that your DAC service can receive a signing request from your device and send you the device attestation certificate. In this second option, the private key stays all the time in the device, while in the first option, the private key generated by the service and sent to your device. So it really depends on what is available on your device. So once you've decided to go with either pre-generated or online signing, you have still different options. For example, for the pre-generation, you can have a batch delivery of DAC and private key. So you may want to say, I will produce 10,000 devices in the next month. So I will order already in advance the batch of certificates. The service will send through a secure way to a secure folder, or SFTP or S3 or any other secure folder, where your factory can get the batch, decrypt it, and inject it at production. So the use case for that is, for example, you have new device at factory, and you know how to inject, or you may need help, but you have the ability to inject the certificate and the private key at manufacturing. The second use case is, for example, you have devices that are already deployed in the field, you have already sold that to customer, and you want to enable Matter with a firmware update. So you do the firmware update that is updating the device to be Matter compliant. And at this stage, device can connect to a REST API, either directly to the DAC service or through your own backend to get its pre-generated certificate. So either we deliver a batch of the certificate, or we can also deliver one by one directly to your device. So this is the first option. If we go to the online signing requests, again, you have the same example of use case. Either you have a device already deployed in the field, or even a new device in the field that has the ability to do a certificate signing request to a DAC service with the key already in the device. Or you can do the same at the factory. If your factory is connected on the factory line, the device can connect to the DAC service and get its certificate at this time. So when you are looking for a DAC supplier, you need to make sure that the option that you need is available. So you will not use all of the options I presented earlier in the last two slides. You will need to decide which option you need and make sure that the DAC supplier has this option for you. But there is other things you need to look for. So the supplier should have a intuitive ordering portal. So you will need to order DACs to your supplier. So make sure that it's easy and intuitive to use. You also want to make sure that the service has availability, SLA, and how long your PI is stored in the service, making sure that when you need a new set of DAC or a new DAC, your supplier is ready to order to deliver that as soon as possible. You may need also to have technical support or professional services, either for the provisioning parts or to do the integration with your device, the API integration. So there is technical support that may be needed. So make sure that you can have that. That there is the option, as I mentioned earlier, that match your needs. And last part, that they have a device security expertise. As we've seen, Matter is a good first step in device security, but there is way more to do. So make sure that you have the right partner that can also help you on this part. Regarding the pricing, so you have usually a setup fee. You may also see some option with a yearly fee. And then usually what we see in the market, you have tier-based price. So the more the order, the lower the price of the DAC. So the last part for me in this webinar, just to explain how Kudelski IoT can help you. For Matter, but also beyond that. So for Matter, as I mentioned, we have our Keystream DAC services, which is based on our PKI, public key infrastructure. And you can sign a contract with us, and we will provide you an account on our online service. You will have a user interface. It's also available through API. And then you can order your Matter certificates, and we'll deliver them to your factory or to your device, depending on the option you've chosen before. The advantage of doing that is that you rely on a third party to do the PKI infrastructure, meaning that there is a requirement from CSA to do that the right way, to make sure that it's secure, it's done with the industry standards. So we've done that. We've been audited by CSA, or the partner of CSA. and our service is now ready to deliver that. And you can focus on the product innovation and sales, and don't care about building a PKI infrastructure in your factory or in your cloud instance to do that. So it's usually more cost efficient, it's scalable, and you have you know what is the cost in advance, and there is no hidden cost, and having a security expert that will help you put everything in place. And adding to the Matter logo and the QR code, there is also some cybersecurity labels that are coming. So we see in Singapore, for example, the cybersecurity label. The US are also talking about that. CSA is talking about product security specification. So there is more and more requirements around having the right cybersecurity for your devices. And that's also something you may need help. And at Kudelski IoT, that's definitely something we can help you with. So we have labs services to help you comply with security standards and other regulation that you may have to apply with. We have our friendly hackers or white hat hacker that are doing device threat assessment. So they will take your device, try to break it in 5 days, or depending the amount of time you want to spend on this. And at the end, they will send you a report saying that and explain you the output of that and say that in 5 days, this is what we could do with your device. Can be nothing, can be that they could extract something, some secrets, or even break it, and explain what is the impact of on your solution and your business model. On the device security analysis is that the threat assessment is the analysis, building the threat landscape of your solution and trying to understand what are the threats. We have also a secure IP, so we provide secure enclave for chipset manufacturer to protect the keys in the chipset and provide the right cryptographic tools they need in that chipset. And then we have on the service level, we have the PKI service for Matter, which is our Matter service. So we can generate keys, we can generate certificates, and we can also help you do the provisioning in factory or late provisioning in the field. So we have different services and solution to provision the keys and certificates at the right place in your device at the right time in your life cycle. We provide also with Keystream some signing services. So if you need signing services for your firmware, we have the service to do that for you. And we can also help you in the whole FOTA campaign, doing the firmware update for your device. And then everything that we put in the device, or we help you put in the device, we make sure that we monitor the security of that and you can manage it. So you can renew or revoke certificate and keys. You can update the firmware. So that's the management part. So that's it on my part. I will let Buesh come back.
Thank you, Fred, for this presentation. It's great to see that Kudelski can help device manufacturers with both device attestation as well as with device security. I think that's more and more important as we see more and more regulations also coming with security requirements, such as in Europe with the upcoming radio equipment directive. Now, as to having your devices certified, we have Thomas from Allen here, who will present to you what Allen can do to get your devices certified. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yes, thank you for Kudelski to host this webinar and to give us an opportunity to present this Matter certification and interoperability in the smart home. So my name is Thomas Chen. I'm in charge of networking in Alien Labs. So today, let me talk about Alien Labs. So Alien, we are 32 years old. We were founded in 1991. And our core business certification, as you can see in the middle of the image. And we also do ecosystem validation, user scenarios, engineering consulting, and also we make test equipment and fixtures. And we do a lot of the high speed and high frequency related testing. And we make over 50 automation solutions for the vendors. And we have made over 1 million projects over the 32 years, and we have over 800 engineers globally. And as you can see from this slide, we are the reliable consulting partners for a lot of the communication-related vendors, including carriers. As you can see, we co-work with US and European carriers, as well as the IT companies. We co-work with all those IT giants, including Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung, and many other, as well as automotive industries. So we also help like Toyota, Denso, Honda, and all those car makers to do their car-related testing, as well as the electronics. So as you can see from this slide, we co-work with a lot of the Japanese vendors as well. And also for the commercial and channels, as you can see, we co-work with the US channels and the European channels. And also for the IC and chipset vendors, we cover most of them. So you can see, including the networking, audio, video related chipsets, as well as the displays. And we also cover the major LED makers to do their audio and video testing. And the last one is the communications. As you can see from here, we also help the consumer market to validate their networking equipments. Okay, so let me go over the Matter certification. So for the Matter certification, basically there are only 9 steps. And let me cover each step one by one. So as you can see, this is the step 1. So similar to the other alliances, CSA Alliance, they also establish 4 tiers of the CSA memberships. So in order to get your device Matter certified, the first step is that you have to become a member of the CSA Alliance. So there are 4 tiers. And you can see we have highlighted the tiers that we recommend for the vendors. So as you can see, they are the participant, adopter, and associate. And there are some differences between all these layers. So as you can see, the membership fees are different. For participant, it's more expensive. It's about 20K per year. Adopter is 7,000. Associate is 0. And in order to do the validation certification, you need to be at least participant and adopter. And if you want to make a product and you want to sell to another company, you have to be a participant. So that way your product can sell to another company and another company can white label your product. And for adopter, you can only certify your own product. You cannot sell to another company, and another company cannot white label your product. Okay, for step 2, you have to get a VID. So it's very easy to get this VID. So basically, you just write email to this certification at csa-iot.org. So they will assign you a vendor ID, which you will use and communicate with Kudelski and to get this stack written with this vendor ID. And for step 3 and 4, this is the most important steps. So in order to understand, you have to make sure that your smart home products, what kind of transport technology you would like to implement on it. So currently, according to the Matter spec, these are the transport technologies that are currently supported. So they are the Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Thread, and Bluetooth for the Matter commissioning. So if your product support any one of these ones, you have to provide the attestation reports. So in order to get these attestation reports, you have to do your own test report, or you have to contact the related alliance and get the certification ID from it. And you have to write all this information onto the attestation report. And besides all this attestation reports, there's also another security attestation report. So on this security attestation report, currently there are around 30 security questions. They will ask you about how do you implement your security on your product. So this is a little bit trivial. So you can ask your chipset vendors, or you can ask a security consultant like Kudelski. They will teach you how to answer those 30 questions. So you can fill out the answers and submit to the online. And step 5 is rather an easy step. So basically, you just come to this web link, which is listed on this slide, and select one of the 8 CSA Matter ATLs. And since our company name starts with A, so we are listed as the first one. So it's very easy for you to select. And we highly recommend you to select us. And number 6, for this step, it basically talks about how many documents you have to submit for your certification applications. Basically, you have to come to this certification web tool and get and upload all your documents. And for the step 7, you have to submit all these applications. And the CSA certification team, they have a dedicated team. They will review all your applications, including a final test report from the test lab. So they will judge if there's any action required for your application. So it's either approve or action. So if there's an action, so either the company have to do some actions or the test lab have to do some retesting and submit the result to the CSA certification team for review. So based on our experience, usually it will take about 3 to 5 work days to get it approved or rejected. And for the step A, if your product is okay, you get it approved. Basically, you will receive 4 things. The first one is that you will get an email from the CSA team. They will give you the PDF file. They will tell you that your product is certified. They will give you a certificate file. And number 2 is that they will list your product on the CSA website. So under the website, you can see the certified devices. Your device will be listed there. And number 3, they will teach you how to use this Matter certified logo on your products. So they will give you some guidelines how to use that. And number 4, you will get your CD boot file, which Frederick mentioned. So you have to inject that to your products in a factory. So if you're not sure how to do that, please consult with Kudelski. They will teach you how to do that. And number 9, for the DCL, basically, this is blockchain. So CSA team, they will write your product certification status on this DCL. And for this DCL, the main purpose is that they will prevent the counterfeit, and also it will be used for OTA. So I list out all the reference links that you can leverage. So once you get this material, you can click from the top to the bottom. So basically you will run through all the steps. So let me go over the second part. The second part is mainly focusing on the Matter interoperability, which is the core function of Matter. So as you can see from this image, in the smart home, you will have access points or CPE or gateway, which will act as the controller for your smart home devices. And for your other like mobile phones or TVs or even dishwashers or even cars, charging stations or speakers. In the future, those will be Matter devices, and they can talk to each other. And due to that, there will be more and more devices which will support Matter. There will be few challenges, as we will discuss on the following slide. Let's go over how many devices currently support for Matter. As you can see from the device types, there are several types that will support Matter. As you can see, the major types will be lighting and electrical. So mostly focusing on the light bulbs and power switches. And also HVAC, media devices, which focus on the TVs and blinds and shades. And also there are some sensors. As you can see, there are safety and security sensors, as well as the access controls, mostly focusing on the door locks, and as well as the major parts, controllers and bridges. And of course, there are some other parts which is focusing on the software parts. And in the future, Matter 1.2, which is scheduled to be released in September, they will define more device types which will support Matter. As you can see from this slide, you can see that there are doorbells and cameras, vacuum cleaners and white label goods, access points and border routers, and the EV charging stations at home, closure sensors, environmental and sensing controls, smoke and CO detectors, ambient and motion sensors. So what are the Matter interoperability challenges? So due to that, there are several ecosystem vendors, including Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung. They all design their ecosystems differently. So they have different UI. They design their spec differently, even though everybody run on Matter, but there are still some differences. So due to these differences, currently we encounter some issues. And due to that, they have some issues, so they tend to update their products. And whenever they update their products, sometimes it causes some issues for the end users to reconfigure their smart home devices at home. That's very annoying. And we also noticed that when we have more devices joining this Matter network, we see more issues. And whenever there are more users interact with these Matter devices, we see more issues as well. So that's the challenges we encounter. And for us, Alien Labs, we do this Matter interoperability in the real house, and we do see a lot of issues with our current Matter device available in the market. So we put it to the test and we see these kind of issues. So the first one is that whenever you do this power off and power on, or you move your products around the house, and you will cause this topology change, and some of the function will be lost. And we do see that the slow response is very common issues. If it's poor design, usually you will see 10 seconds delay for the action to be triggered. So that's not a good user experience. For a traditional light switch, when you turn on a light switch, you just turn it on, you just click, and within 1 second, you will turn on. But for a smart home device, you will take like 10 seconds to turn on a light. That's not ideal user experience that we want to deliver to the end users. And also, we also encountered that by setting up Matter devices, sometimes it will take longer than 1 minute. And as you know, end users tend to be very impatient. So usually, if they try to set up a device and it takes longer, usually they just repack the package and ship it back. So we don't want that to happen. So we need to improve that. And also, for Matter, you are capable to share your smart home devices from one ecosystem to another. What I mean is that, for example, you set up your smart home device with Apple, you can share that with Google, or share that to Amazon, or share that to Samsung. But we do see that currently there are some issues trying to share your Meta devices across the ecosystems. And also the latency is another issue. So we do see that when we set up your smart home devices in the house and we use it for a period of time, we do see a latency issue when we try to trigger action and it takes a while to respond sometimes. Or we try to group several devices and try to perform the same action. Sometimes some devices will not behave. That's very interesting issues. So let me show you that there are two issues that we would like to talk about today. As you can see, from the image, you can see the light bulb is on. But when we try to test with some other ecosystem, including Apple, Google, Amazon, and Samsung, one of the ecosystem they display incorrectly. So as you can see from this image, and it takes more than 10 seconds for this incorrect ecosystem to display the correct status. Another issue is that you can see right now the light bulb is off, but one of the ecosystem they display incorrectly. So instead of showing it's off, it still shows it's on. So this is not a good sign. So whenever, for example, if you want to leave the house and go to work and you try to turn off some of your lights and your status show that it's still on, and you try to trigger again, and by triggering again, you instead of turning off your lights, you turn on again. So you are wasting your energy. So this is not good. So you might wonder, currently we already have this Meta certification program. Why do we need this interoperability testing? So just to let you know that certification tests only cover the minimum. And like we mentioned earlier, this Meta certification, they do not test your product against Apple, Google, Amazon, and Samsung ecosystem devices. So basically, they just test their own test equipment and test scripts. So in order to ensure that your products can co-work with other Meta devices in the market, as well as that you always trying to improve your product, as well as you try to improve your brand image, we recommend that you perform this Meta interoperability testing. And for Allian, we are the active contributor for this Meta interoperability testing test plan. So currently, we already define test items for the CSA Meta interoperability teams. So we define all these test cases, including onboarding, discovery, joining, info check, power cycle, control with trigger, reliability testing, including many devices or many power cycles, as well as remove and reset, and under multi-ecosystem scenarios. And we already provide the first phase test plan to the Meta interoperability teams in February. And currently, CSA, their labs are using this test plan to perform this interoperability testing. And we also provide this test service as well. And we will continue to contribute the second phase and third phase test plan, which focus on reliability. Okay, so last part, let me talk about these smart home solutions. As we mentioned earlier, we test our Meta interoperability in the smart home. So why we test it in the smart home? So instead of testing your device in the lab on the tables, which is not ideal, which is not the same environment as the end users. So smart home devices are placed on floors and walls and ceilings. They are not on the tables. And some of the smart home devices you have to install in the home in order to operate correctly, including the water pump, or some other HVAC items. You cannot do that in a lab. And also the radio wave penetrates drywalls and floors. So the real user experience will be evaluated correctly. And also in the future, smart home will cover as many as 50 smart home devices. So they are all separate in the houses and different locations and different floors. So that's our ideal topology that we would like to validate your smart home end user experience. As you can see, currently at Allian, we provide 5 smart home solutions, which you can leverage and test your Matter devices. So you can see they come with different sizes and shapes. So they are mostly in Taiwan, and we do have one facility in California. So you can also leverage this facility for your Matter interoperability testing. As you can see, this is our Taiwan smart home number 1. As you can see, there are 2 floors, and we have implement smart home devices in these 2 floors and try to test this Matter certification, Matter interoperability. As you can see from the spectrum analyzers, the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, the spectrum is quite clean, so you can always test and repeat your scenarios without issues. And as well as for the US smart home scenarios, we use different rooms for different scenarios for different smart home devices. So that way you'll exercise the end user scenarios and make sure that the good user experience is achieved. My last slide is that we would like to show you our Matter interoperability environments. So as you can see from this slide, currently we have obtained around 100 Matter certified devices in the market, and we'll put it in one single facility. So that way we can test your Matter device against all these major ecosystem, including Google, Apple, Amazon, and Samsung. And we also put other Matter brand names. So you can see we have E, right now it's ABB, and some other famous smart home brands. So you can utilize this facility for your Matter interoperability testing. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, for the nice presentation. I really like this this interoperability lab that you can test devices, this capability in a real world scenario, because, well, you contribute a lot into making sure that the main promise of Matter, namely interoperability, can be achieved. And so I think also that's even increasingly important because, as we know, Matter is evolving rapidly. You also showed for Matter 1.2. And also later on with Matter 1.3, there's many new device types that will follow. And so Matter is actually coming with a 6 months release. So every 6 months, there's a new release of Matter with new features, new device types. And so this means that there's a lot of work to test all those devices and also to make sure that those devices are also cyber secure. And I think that's also where lies the value of the collaboration between Kudelski and Allian, to make sure and to help device manufacturers achieve interoperability, achieve device security, and all of that in swift time to revenue for the products. And so with that, I would like to conclude on our webinar. But first of all, have a look if there's any questions that the audience may have. So let's see if there's some questions. And for those who still have questions, feel free to enter them now or come back to us later. So I see there's already a first question. So we have the question on the certification of Matter devices that are over, for example, Wi-Fi. Do I need to do the Wi-Fi certification first and then Matter, or can Allian do both of them at the same time, or is there any order that can be changed? So that would be a question for Thomas.
Yes. So according to the meta requirement, so if your product support Wi-Fi and you run your meter over Wi-Fi, you have to get this Wi-Fi Alliance certification. And as you know, we are also the Wi-Fi Alliance test lab. So we can help you to perform this Wi-Fi Alliance certification as well. And if your product or your module has this certification ID, you can write that ID onto this Wi-Fi attestation report. So in order to get this CID, you can contact the Wi-Fi ATO like us and to perform this test and get it certified. And you can obtain this CID and write it on the report. Of course, we can help you.
Thank you. I also have a question that relates to some of the operational aspects of Matter. Namely, I understand there's also a node operational certificate. Can you also share some details on who issues these? So maybe I can take this question as I'm also active in the working groups on this kind of topic. So indeed, there's the concept of a node operational certificate, which is a certificate that is sitting into the fabric itself and is used for authenticating different nodes between the devices in your fabric. That's a certificate that is issued during the commissioning phase. So once the commissioner has validated that the device is genuine and is certified, so using the CD and the DAC certificates that Fred has explained to you, those node operational certificates will be issued by an administrator that is local in your fabric. Typically, that administrator is a logical functionality that is inside the commissioner, but it can also be in another device that is having the role as an administrative domain manager. And if the person who asked the question wishes to have more information, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to also point to some of the details in the spec on this topic. We have a question also on the DAC delivery options for Fred. Namely, which of those two delivery options is the better choice also with respect to cost?
So it really depends on the options that you and what you have today in your deployment. The cost of the service itself will be the same. The cost that may change is the provisioning one. So either you know and you already are provisioning devices or other things at your factory, then you can use the same process and just get the certificate. Or you don't do that and you have the possibility to do online services, then online request, then it's just an integration with the backend. So on the service itself, there is no cost. The cost will be on the integration part between your device and the service.
Thank you, Fred. Instead of a question, I also get a remark or a request for Thomas, asking for Alien to also put a EU test house in place. So there is a demand in Europe also for this kind of smart home test lab. So
okay,
it's a great remark. We also have the question if we will share the slides or replay of this webinar. So indeed, we will. You will get an email after this webinar, and the recording will also be made available, so you can navigate through the slides again to get the information as you wish. And with that, I see that we don't have any new questions coming. So in that case, I wish to thank everybody for having joined this webinar, and also thank you, Frederick and Thomas, for having presented here today. Once this webinar finishes, there will be a pop-up that will present a survey. It would be great if you could fill out that survey such that we can take also the feedback of yours into account in our next webinar. And with that, thank you all. Have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and the rest of your day, and hope to see you soon at the next event. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.